Boom! Let's knit a thing. Oh, hi. Once you go sheep, you never go cheap.
And we're live. And we're back. I don't know what that's from.
Hello, makers.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Shannon.
Hi. This is episode 31 for both of us.
Yes.
We are so in
3-1.
sync.
I love it.
We should start a band called In Sync.
I'm not sure anyone has done that.
I don't think they have.
I'll meet you in Vancouver.
Yay! So I'm Shannon, and if you're watching on my channel, this is my podcast, soxcetera, about knitting.
Excellent. Hi, everybody. This is Marce. I am Hey Brownberry everywhere, and this is episode 31 of the Brownberry Chronicles podcast. Welcome.
I always forget to tell people where you can find me. You can find me on Instagram as Shannon Mariah, and I'm on Ravelry as Shannon Fisher.
Perfect. They should be able to find you because you have lots of good stuff to share.
Yeah, sometimes I do. Sometimes I totally go MIA.
It happens. So welcome to episode 31 for both of us. This is actually part 2 of joint recordings with Shannon and myself. We are recording as part of the Wonders of the World KAL North America edition. Shannon is in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and I'm coming to you from South Florida in the US. And we're recording together because we are co-hosting the Wonders of the World KAL North America edition. It is May 2017, and we're in month 5 of 6 for this knit-along.
Marce, you're so profesh.
I try. I do try.
This is how people do it in one go. They just have their stuff in order. That's how they do it.
I got a good partner. I know you'll fill in whatever I leave out.
Okay, perfect. You remember the date and everything. I never do that.
Sometimes that's the hardest part, and I'm glad that we both are on episode 31, because even that's sometimes hard to remember in your own podcast.
We only have to say one number.
It's perfect. So we have lots of good things to share with you all. If you haven't seen the first part of our joint episode recordings, I highly encourage you to go back to either one of our channels, the Soxcetera podcast or the Brownberry Chronicles podcast, because in that first recording, we talk a little bit more about what the Wonders of the World knit-along is all about. And Shannon gives you some great tips on the other podcasters who have participated and will be recording in the month of June. So I highly recommend that you go check that out so that you can be up to speed on what we're doing. Feel free to participate if you go to Shannon's Ravelry group, the Soxcetera podcast group. There's tons of people over there already chattering, and there's lots of goodies that'll be made available.
You opened a FO thread yesterday?
I did. Because you know what? Days after we recorded, people were already finishing things.
Yeah, and you were on it. So I'm thankful that you opened that up. Thank you for doing that for me.
It's my pleasure. I'm really glad people are excited enough to already be making stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
I started making a thing too.
We can talk about that in our works in progress section, I hope.
I hope so too.
You know what? Let's do what are we wearing?
Oh, okay. Well,
Shannon, what are you wearing?
I just ran and got my newly finished, well, not super new. It's like maybe a month and a half now. I talked on this in my last episode.
Mm-hmm.
Did I?
I think we did. Yeah.
It's my harvest cardigan. I mean, I did a lot of different things to it. I used like my very highly honed expertise as a knitter to change everything I wanted to change. But
I love it.
One thing I failed to do was add short rows in the back to keep it on my shoulders. So it never stays on my shoulders. So I can only wear it when I'm going to be stationary for a while.
Ah, like recording a podcast.
Like recording a podcast. So that's what I'm doing.
Well, it looks great on you, and I love that it matches your top, and I'm sorry that it will not cooperate, but I think you did show a lot of great knitterly skill in modifying it.
I did. It felt pretty good to know what I was doing and to be like, oh, I don't like this, I'm going to add this. Oh, I don't like how that is, I'm going to change this. And to know how to do all of those things.
Yeah, I think once you have knit a certain number of projects or just for a certain amount of time, you can take courage in trying things like that. And it's only knitting. So if it doesn't work out, you just either, go back stitch by stitch or even frog it if you have to.
Totally. Yeah.
I love it. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, I just taught a friend of mine last weekend she just started a pair of socks. And I was like, I feel like you learn a lot of garment skills when you knit socks. Like once you're done your socks, you could probably start a sweater and feel pretty good about what you need to do.
I agree with that. There's increasing and decreasing. I mean, in most socks that you can make, there's shaping, and you're sort of thinking about the different parts of your body and how you want the sock to look, and there's gauge. That's great.
Yeah.
I think people should start with something like socks more often than they do, because once you've done that, I think you can be fearless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And she started 2 at a time. I was like, go you. She was fearless.
You know what? When she finishes with a pair, she'll be hooked.
I completely agree.
So I'm not wearing any knitwear at the moment, but those of you who've been on my podcast for a while probably have never seen me in a head wrap. This is called a gele, Gele. That's the Nigerian word for this African-style head wrap. And I got a lot of dreadlocks bundled up in there. But I was doing sort of my own little flashback Friday, because before I had dreadlocks, I had just natural hair and afro, and I was in college. And those of you who've ever made a major hairstyle change probably know that there can be like this really weird in-between stage.
Yeah.
So I learned how to do different styles of African head wraps as a way to sort of quietly go through the stage between an afro and dreadlocks, and still not feel like stressed about the way my hair looked. And it was really great because I ended up buying all of this amazing fabric. So my flashback Friday to my college days is wearing my gele.
I love it. It's beautiful on you.
Thank you.
I would love to see a picture of you with your natural hair.
I might have to dig that up.
Yeah. If you do in time, maybe I'll include it in the corner there.
I'll have to go look for that. All right. I'm motivated.
Awesome.
If not this time, next time.
Tell us about your earrings, too. Those are so fun.
Yeah. Speaking of handmade things and fun things, these are fabric doilies. Some of you have probably seen like lace doilies in a vintage shop. And these are lace cutouts from doilies that were made into earrings by a crafter at an art fair / bazaar that I've gone to every year called Stitch Rock down here in Florida. And it ran for about 10 years. This was its 10th and final year. And I bought these last year because I was so enamored with how the maker had, painstakingly cut out the lace motif and sprayed it with fabric stiffener and paint. And I was just blown away by that level of artwork.
Wow.
I tend to buy jewelry. Yeah. I tend to buy jewelry that's unique when I can.
Yeah.
And support smaller businesses. I'm not a huge jewelry person. I don't wear it very often, but most of the pieces I have are something that I can tie it to a memory. So, of course, after I saw that, I was like, oh, I want to cut out all the lace doilies and make all the things. But instead, I just wear the earrings. That's as close as I'm going to get.
I love it. Well, they're beautiful. I feel like I should maybe make something or buy something out of doilies because I have a hate relationship with doilies.
Talk to us about that.
I grew up in a home with a mom who was super into doilies and knickknacks. And guess who was in charge of the dusting?
Oh, yes.
This guy. And I had to wipe off all the knickknacks and
Right.
move all the doilies and reposition them. And my mom was super clean freak too. So like I dusted probably once a week.
Wow. My dad was like that. I can see why that would give you a hate-hate relationship, and I fully support you doing something with doilies that frees you from that trauma.
Yes, yes. Well, I didn't have any flashbacks in seeing your earrings.
Very
I
good.
actually didn't realize they were doilies till they looked
Yeah.
almost feathery to me.
Yeah, it just happens to be that the motif she cut out has that particular shape.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something you can do, just cut some up.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I could just chop up some doilies.
Yep. It would be fun. So I imagine that she, found these, maybe thrifted them.
Cool.
Who knows?
They're awesome.
So yeah, that's what we're wearing, everybody. Last episode, we had the pleasure of, well, at least my listeners had the pleasure of maybe for the first time hearing a segment called Shouty Shannon. Those of you who watch the Soxcetera podcast have heard Shouty Shannon segments before, where Shannon covers issues of social justice that are maybe new to her or current or just things she feels led to share. So I encourage Shannon to keep that as part of our joint episodes because I always enjoy them. And she's got something really good for this week. So why don't we go into Shouty Shannon?
Let's do it. I feel like sometimes I wish I had like a Shouty Shannon theme song. Like
That's right.
If I was any good at that kind of thing, I would write myself a Shouty Shannon, like just a little jingle, just like Shouty Shannon. But it's not.
And then it would like fade out, and you'd start.
Totally.
I think that's still, that could be coming up.
Anyone out there have that kind of gift?
Someone record a Shouty Shannon jingle. Let us know.
So the article I'm going to share with you today is on Medium. And, I'm not going to share the whole thing with you. I'm just going to read you a little blip and talk about it. But it's by a woman named Robin Chancer, and she is a therapist. And I feel like the article came out, it says April 26th on it. So it came out, What is that, 2 weeks ago now?
Mm-hmm.
So it came out before all of this kerfuffle that happened this week. But I mean, I just feel like since November, the world's been in some kind of trauma, right? Some sort of shared trauma. So this article is, I feel like, really important and timely, not just for those of you living in North America and living through a lot of this stuff, but I feel like I was able to apply a lot of it just to my own personal life too. So it's a really cool article. It's called How to Stay Sane If Trump is Driving You Insane, Advice from a Therapist. And so she has a little intro, and then she goes into her 2 tips to stay sane. So I'll just read you a little blurb here.
Cool.
Many grow up hearing statements like, people are inherently good. Everything happens for a reason. Do the right thing and everything will work out. God has a plan. I can leave everything in God's hands. Such statements are offered as a salve for life's inevitable pain, but they have downsides. How many of us have wanted to punch a wall after a statement like, he's in a better place? Positive thinking, when misplaced, is infuriating and unhelpful. Believing that everything will be okay sets us up for despair because each new time things are not okay, we feel beaten down again. Optimism is not always healthy. It can make us complacent, fatigued, and detached from the whole of our psyches. There are times when optimism is not appropriate or possible, and this is one of those times. Our president is delusional, lying, or ignorant. Disastrous climate change and war with North Korea loom. Marginalized people in our society are suffering. Faced with these calamities, catastrophic thinking is a rational response. History teaches us that many arcs of history did not bend toward justice, and I think that's the thing that Martin Luther King said. The 65 million people currently displaced worldwide are tragic examples. We need only to speak to a Native American to understand that lapse is entirely possible. Instead of blind faith in progress, I offer a specific, practical system useful for maintaining mental health in a paranoid, post-positive world. So that sounds really bleak and harsh and blunt, but the things that she goes on to say, I feel like are really important. So she has 2 steps, and the first one is radical acceptance and dialectical thinking. And then the second step is basically all about mindfulness, and she calls it attention is everything. So I'm going to link this in the show notes, and I would really encourage everyone to read it, Canadian or otherwise, like everyone, because it is really, like I said, I was able to apply a lot of it to my own life.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like we live in a positivity culture where everyone wants to fix everything immediately and just look on the bright side and don't be such a downer. And I think, life is complicated and hard and nuanced, and just thinking on the bright side does not always, if ever, work. So
yeah, and it completely alienates people who maybe don't naturally think on the bright side or can't in the moment based on what's happening. That puts them on the fringe as an outsider, even though they may actually be having the same feelings as someone who's saying those things. So I feel, as a person living in the U.S., that there is so much separation right now that even something as simple as admitting that things feel pretty bad and having that moment and being allowed to have that moment could create more togetherness.
Yeah.
Because a lot of what I see is just divisive.
Yeah.
So that was a great article. I'll make sure that it's linked in my show notes as well. Anything that Shannon and I share, we'll make sure that all of you have access to it.
Yeah.
I
just remembered that I actually shared something else on my Facebook. It's just 3 quick tweets from a woman. She's at the Trudes, and then her name is Trudy, so Trudz, or Z as you would say. And so she says her 3 tweets are: positivity culture is so trite and immature to me. I like to be around people who recognize nuanced emotions, reality, structural issues. Also, many positive-only people are benevolent on surface, but bigoted victim blamers beneath it, and can't structurally analyze shit. Victim blaming is a root of positivity only, American exceptionalism, meritocracy, bootstrap theory, prosperity gospel, and The Secret. Oh, The Secret.
Wow. I wonder, each one of those things probably has a whole library of information behind them. That would probably be interesting to kind of follow those lines of thinking, just to give a name to the way some people think and feel.
Yeah, for sure. I'll share a little screen cap of that. That's a lot. Her 3 tweets each are a lot to unpack, but I remember that resonating with me because, like what you said, it can be really alienating to have someone, just want you to be positive all the time. So
right. And that doesn't just apply to politics. So I hope that you guys are all able to take something from that, even if you don't live in the United States, even if you haven't necessarily been very attached to the political things that are happening right now. I think the idea that we need to do what we can to be mindful, and that it's okay to not always feel I should think everything is great, can apply to any life situation, really.
Yeah, for sure. Not to say that I think there's definitely a time and place for, like, chin up, we can do this. Like, there is, a different way of thinking. There's a time and place for that, but sometimes it's just too much.
It's true. So you and I had a conversation last time, coming out of this Shouty Shannon topic and our last episode, and I think it might have even been a text exchange where we talked about how knitting is like life.
Oh, yes.
And you probably said something profound, and I remember it ending with like knitting is life,
Oh, yeah.
So that gave me the idea that you and I discussed about a prompt for this group of makers watching this podcast.
Which I love.
And yes,
This is so
and
good.
we thought this is a great excuse to give away goodies.
Yay!
So, as you all may know by now, we are trying to feature North American makers, even in the prizes that we're offering as part of the WOW KAL. And we're encouraging conversation with you and with each other. And one of the things that Shannon and I often do is we have the benefit of getting together with other makers, sometimes through virtual knit nights, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And when we talk to these people, we find that we have so much more in common with them than just yarn and needles. And a lot of the topics that come up are life topics. And in some way, you can almost always tie it back to knitting. I'll give an example of working on a project like Shannon's beautiful cardigan, where she took the courage to put in a lot of modifications and changes, but there's this one thing that doesn't quite work the way she wants it to. And she's at a point in her knitting journey where she's willing to even frog it, I think you were saying, to go all the way back and add short rows so that it will fit better. And in life, that is reality. Sometimes you start on a journey and you think you've got it all set until you try that scenario on and it doesn't quite fit and you have to start over. So we wanted to prompt you all to tell us, profound, funny, or otherwise, how you think knitting is like life. And if you don't feel like being philosophical, be goofy.
Yeah.
But we're going to put a prompt below this YouTube video on the Brownberry Chronicles channel with the statement, knitting is like life because, and then we want you to complete that. And as an incentive, we're going to offer a prize from a North American maker called Lola Blue. On the last episode, I showed some Lola Blue soap products and talked about some of the other bath, body, and home products that they make right here in my home state of Florida. They've kindly offered us 2 hand care packages, which will include some lovely goodies. And we may include a picture here or in the episode thread of what those goodies look like. It's 3 items that'll be right next to you in your knitting or crochet bag because they smell amazing and they're a great way to treat yourself. So that will be the prize giveaway. Many thanks to the people at Lola Blue. You can find them at lolablueliving.com. It's still considered a small business to me because I know the owners and they hand make everything themselves. And I think if we spend a couple of seconds reflecting on how knitting is like life, you guys are going to come up with some amazing metaphors, and I can't wait to read them. So tell us how you think knitting is like life and be entered to win a handmade maker's hand care package. And we'll decide on the end date. It'll probably be about a week from when this episode is posted. So we'll put in an end date for when we're going to draw for that.
So cool. I'm going to have to think about, yours was so profound and meaningful. I'm going to have to really think about one.
You know, conversations with you kind of spark the neurons. It gets me going.
Probably going to go for the funny, flippant, how knitting is. I don't know. We'll see. I'll come up with something. I know
it's going to be great. It's going to be so great. I cannot wait.
So just to remind you, if you want, you can definitely share your Knitting is Like Life on my YouTube channel. I'm the down bar, but we're only going to draw from Marce's. So that's the place to be.
Yes. And we will make sure that you have all the links you need. And there will be multiple reasons for us to give you goodies because the making community has been very kind to both of us. So we have lots of nice things to give away. Shall we show some other prizes while we're talking about that?
We should. So I got some great stuff in the mail this week.
And these are donations from people, right, who just want to share the love.
So Carolyn is a new dyer, and I love the name of her business. It's called Wild Happy Color Hand-Dyed Yarn.
Oh, so that's pretty.
You see that?
I can see it good now, yep.
So yeah, and she has an Etsy shop called Wild Happy Color, and I'll link all the information there. And she sent along 2 skeins. I believe one is for me, one is for giveaway. So
nice.
it is so generous. I'm doing all the crinkling here.
Crinkle.
So I have gotten a lot of yarns. We'll see. I mean, I love both of these. I'd love to keep one of them, but I also feel like I could probably give both away, and my stash would be none the wiser.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I hear you. And you know what? That may be two people who are being introduced to her brand new, because now you know about her and I know about her, and we could tell two more people, and that just ripples out. I love that.
Yeah. So this is an 80-20 merino nylon blend, and let's see,
Those
she calls
colors.
it Sweet Dreams. So it looks like it's got a high twist to it. It reminds me a little bit of the way Koi Goo looks.
Oh,
or
good
Richard DeVries yarn. It's really, really nice.
Did you know that green and blue, I read somewhere that green and blue aesthetically are the two most popular colors. She's got a good thing going on right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very attracted to this. If I was going to keep one, I would keep this one.
Good to know, people. Shannon's sacrificing.
So hard. And then this next one is an MCN blend. So it's an 80-10-10. So that's merino cashmere nylon.
Gorgeous.
I believe. Yeah. And it's also twisted, but it's not as high twist as this other one.
Gotcha.
So it's not
Different
a single
base.
ply, but yeah, it's beautiful.
Purples, blues, pinks, you cannot go wrong.
Some black specks in there. This one's speckled as well. It's got some like deep speckles.
Right there. Nice.
It
is.
So
I think she meant one for you and one for me. That's probably what that was.
I think she did.
Yeah. Good stuff. Thank you so much. That's Wild Happy Color.
Yes. So thank you, Carolyn. Your stuff is beautiful, and I'm excited to be able to share it with everybody.
That's awesome. One of the things that we especially wanted to do was highlight folks who are new to the business side of making and trying to put out great products. North American designers, yarn dyers, small business owners that are part of our community. So it's really cool to see somebody new. I had not heard of that shop before, so thanks for that.
I forgot to look at the return stamp, but I'm pretty sure I think I just assume everyone who reaches out to me is from the United States. I don't know why, but she could very well be from Canada.
Gotcha.
So if I find the package, I'll let you know.
Yeah, we'll let you guys know. That's awesome. Well, I also received a generous donation of Yarny prizes, which I'll share with you guys. Some of you may already know and have seen me talk about on my podcast, Lindsay of the Fiber Seed. Lindsay sent us these two skeins.
Oh my goodness.
So I told her that we were doing this Wow KAL, and I said, I'm going to grab some stuff from your shop to put into the prize pile for those participating in the chatter and finished objects thread. And she said, okay, no, I'm going to send you some yarn that you can use to give away. So generosity abounds. Thank you, Lindsay of the Fiber Seed. Here's the tag for her shop. It's thefiberseed.com. This color actually was featured in a fiber-related magazine recently, and it's called, I'm going to make sure I get it right, Tourist Attraction, which is pretty funny because Lindsay and I both live here in Florida, and as many of you know, one of the big tourist attractions, the whole state is one big tourist attraction, but one of them is Disney, and this totally has like Disney color feel to me. Lindsay is a genius at dyeing yarn. I tell her this all the time. This is kind of like a mix of a dip dye, speckle dyed, some variegation in the yarn, just a bunch of really cool color design things going on. It's a 90% merino wool superwash, 10% nylon, and it's a sock weight. It's also a 2-ply twist. So that's one. And another prize.
What would you do with that one if you kept it? What would you do with it? It's so amazing and unique.
It is. So it's interesting you ask me that because it'll come up again when we talk about whips, but when I have this much color going on, my two go-to thoughts are a pair of socks or a sock head hat or something like a sock head hat. If you haven't knit the sock head hat before, it's essentially a fingering weight hat pattern. It's done pretty slouchy with a very wide or tall, I guess you would say for the brim, a tall ribbed brim, and then just a stockinette in the round body and crown of the hat. And I feel like something like that just showcases all of this color.
Yeah.
My mind lends to socks sometimes when you have things that just have rich colors like this. One, because I feel like you can get away with that in socks and they become a showpiece. And however the color plays out when it's a short circumference, you get a little bit of everything every couple rounds.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do. What about you? What do you think?
Well, I like your sock head hat idea. I feel like that when color is that wild, I feel like I want to put it on my feet because I can't necessarily get away with it anywhere near my face. But sometimes I think I'm just not being brave enough because, I mean...
Well, I don't know. Courage could come from combining it with something that is much more neutral. Someone gave me that idea for a yarn that I have that's highly variegated with colors that I love. But when knit on its own, some of that color brilliance gets lost. And someone said, I think it might have been Chanel of the Piper Nell podcast, recommended that I just add a cream or a white yarn to it, either as stripes or color blocks. Cool. I thought, oh, it's genius.
It is genius.
So the second skein is also a sock weight. This is a one of a kind. So somebody should feel very special when this shows up in their happy mail.
Is it called Oh Canada?
It should be, right?
I think
Maybe
so.
We'll give this to a Canadian recipient. Next time we do a giveaway prompt, we could do it on your podcast and send it to a Canadian winner. It's called Amaryllis.
Okay.
And you can see that the two primary colors are red and white, like the Canadian flag. Oh, Canada. Lindsay is so good at just keeping that richness in there, even as one color transitions to another. So thank you, Lindsay from the Fiber Seed. I can't talk. Those are some great giveaways.
We were talking last week about people, makers who are also wonderful human beings. Natalie Sheldon of Remembrance's Pottery being one, and Lindsay is another one that I think we've both gotten to know her because of Bee Cans, right? Yes, and she is just so lovely, and I adore her.
I'm going to play in her dye studio one day and hopefully podcast about it.
How far away is it a quick drive?
3.5 hours west of me, but she happens to be in an area that I go to quite often for work.
Oh, that's fun. That's
lucky
so fun.
I could make it happen. We've talked already about having a play date in the dye studio.
You should definitely
which
do that.
I would love. Yeah. So thanks, Lindsay.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Check her out, thefiberseed.com. Shall we do one more?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So many of you who are either podcasters, knitters, crocheters, spinners, any of you in the fiber community most likely know about the website Ravelry. If you haven't heard about Ravelry, I mean, welcome to a whole new world.
But don't you always meet somebody who's a knitter who hasn't heard of it?
I do.
Every once in a while that happens.
On airplanes, on trains, people who see me knitting and ask me about it, when I say something like, oh, it's in my project notes on Ravelry, they go, what's Ravelry?
Aren't you like, here is the best present I'm about to give you?
I really am. Ravelry.com is 10 years old. It is essentially a global online community of makers, and it has allowed so many connections. I feel like personally, I can name a significant portion of now in real life friends who I met through a Ravelry group discussion thread, a yarn trade, some kind of de-stash transaction where I'm trading or buying yarn from someone and then you end up in a conversation. Having my group, just as Shannon does on Ravelry, specific to the podcast, has been amazing because you interact with people who've now watched you in a recording and a whole new conversation begins. And having a way to organize my yarn stash and my projects. Those are just a few of the ways that Ravelry can be used. And a week ago or so, they posted that this year, 2017, Ravelry is 10 years old.
So cool.
So I thought it would be appropriate Here's their logo. Got a big sticker logo.
I didn't even know they had a logo. I mean, I guess I knew they had a logo, but I didn't know
Yeah.
that was it.
Yeah, so this came in my order for a prize that I would like to donate to the Knit Along, and Shannon and I will decide when all these things get distributed. But so that you see what's coming, I ordered this sheep bag. Can you see
So
it
it's
okay?
all the different names of wool.
This bag has
Western,
all the
Merino.
different sheep breeds.
Oh,
Corriedale,
sheep.
Cheviot, Navajo Churro, Shetland, BFL.
So
Some
cool.
of these names might be familiar to you if you're into wools, especially woolly wools. But I just love the creativity of putting them into a sheep shape. And this is a linen canvas type bag, which is one of my favorite styles for a zippered bag. Just a very plain inside. Really useful. It's got the Ravelry.com website on the back. And we want to give this to one of you.
Yay!
So that'll be in the giveaway prize pile.
So many good things.
We have lots of goodies to give away. As a reminder, we're running the KAL until June 30th. So if you're wondering when on earth we're going to be able to give away all of this stuff, we thought that 2 months was a reasonable amount of time for people to finish projects and get into the conversation. So we'll have time to make sure you get a hold of some of these goodies.
Yes.
Speaking of goodies, what are you stitching away on over there, young lady?
So I started this sweater maybe 2 weeks ago, and actually a friend of mine who is a non-knitter tagged me in it on Instagram, and she's like, Shannon, look at this. And I like instantly went to my stash and was like, what do I have to make this? So I started it right away, and it's a quick knit because it's DK.
Oh, nice.
And it's interesting because it's got some color changes, but the body is actually, I've slowed down a bit on the body, but
Gotcha.
So it's just a raglan pullover, and it's called Camaro, but you pronounce it differently. That might be right.
Oh, I said Camaro.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, because it only has one R. Camaro sounds right.
So I don't know. That's a car, right? Camaro.
It is. Mm-hmm.
So this
Oh
is it.
my goodness.
So it actually calls for, well, I'll put a picture up in the corner, but it's supposed to have 8 color changes up here.
Wow.
But I only had, I did go stash diving, and I only had those 4 colors. So I made the stripes bigger and then added this one and doubled it for a stripe to sort of blend in with the body. And so
that is so striking.
It's a pattern by Tanis Fiber Arts, they also make yarn, right?
They do, and they have a podcast, so look for them on YouTube. Yes.
I did not know this.
Yes, I think there are a few episodes in.
Okay, so I'll have to check that out. And so they're an American company, and so this is my little Wonders of the World knit along contribution. And
I love it.
I do. I'm really loving it. I have tried it on. I put it on a couple needles and tried it on. It's fitting quite big at the back.
Oh, gotcha.
So what I've decided to do is finish knitting the body, try it on again, maybe even wash and block it. And if it fits well, I'll carry on with the sleeves. And if it doesn't fit any differently, I might frog it.
That's okay.
Really shows a lot of progress for me as a knitter, because that is not my jam. Like, I am just like, no, I will just put it aside and ignore it for the rest of my life. I cannot emotionally deal with frogging a thing that is that big and that I put that much energy and love into. But I've grown, so yeah.
You have.
I want
and now
to
the value of you liking it and wearing it is greater than spending time doing it again.
Yeah. Well, and just being able to like chill out, Shannon, and enjoy knitting it again. Like, it's okay. You're doing this for fun. It's not your job. You're not being tested. You can just do it again, and that's okay. So
I like that. I love that perspective. I have frogged a sweater this year and fell in love with the yarn all over again as I was unwinding it. So I know it will get knit again.
So cool.
And I think those colors on you are going to be gorgeous.
Yeah,
when you tried it on,
gray's good with my eyes. So that's why I wanted the gray right up by my eyes.
When you tried it on, did you like how that chevron pattern was on the body?
I did, actually. And the neck is really neat, too. It's a nice, flattering neck shape, neckline.
Yeah. Neckline looks awesome. So there isn't anything you need to do, right? You're not picking up to do like a rib or something, are you? Okay.
I thought I might have to because it looked really big when I started, but then when I realized how it was going to actually be shaped, which is more like that, it sits quite nicely around my neck. But that's it. That's how the neck is.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I can imagine it on you, and I hope it fits the way you want, even if you have to go all the way to blocking.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll keep you posted.
Yes, please. I have a bit of a colorful whip going myself. From top of the body with Shannon's sweater to bottom of the body with my socks. This is just a teeny tiny sock toe.
A little baby sock.
But it's my very first time knitting from a sock blank. Yes.
Nice.
So
Did you dye that?
Well, no, but it's my birthday present from my daughters, Adachi and Mizan.
Aww.
Do you love it?
I do love it. So does that mean they dyed it or they
dyed it?
Oh my goodness.
I know, right?
So much talent
turquoise
in your family.
and green. I was telling them, I did the typical mom thing and said, for Mother's Day, all I want is your undying love and devotion. And they were not having it. So then I said, well, what about some knitted washcloths? So that was the plan. And then we were dyeing for our Etsy shop. My daughter Adachi and I have an Etsy shop called Dynamics Yarns. And we have a shop update coming up. Plug. May 26th is our next shop update. Dynamics Yarns is our little passion project where we work together on creating colorful yarns, sometimes with breed-specific wool, sometimes with superwash. And so because we had bare yarns and sock blanks to dye, I just said, well, if you guys want, you could dye one of the sock blanks for me, work together, collaborate. My youngest daughter, Mizan, has really great color sense. And my oldest daughter, Adachi, she's so precise in the way she does everything. So what we see as splashes of color, I mean, they thought through placement and how much white space to leave and all this fun stuff. And I love how it's knitting up already. Hopefully
really
by
fun.
Our next episode, I'll have a little bit more done on these. So I've never knit from a sock blank until today, and it just warms the cockles of my heart to be knitting on one that they dyed.
One just for you, so full of love.
I love it.
That's so great. One of the most recent pictures that I don't know why I feel like it was your daughter posted on your Dynamics Instagram account. I feel like she said something made me think, oh, Marce did not write that. But it's this beautiful red hue of yarn, and I thought I need to make a sweater out of that.
I want to make a sweater out of it too.
It's so perfect. I love it. I love pinks and reds together so much.
I do too. Red is my power color, so this is the stuff of dreams for me. It is called Chocolate and Cherries.
Yes.
And we did post that the other day. There is something about reds and pinks, and we added a little brown, and it's one of those things where in the dye pot we were like, oh, this is going to be good. We just knew right away. So yeah, this is part of that May 26th shop update. There's definitely going to be enough if someone wants a sweater quantity, because I thought the same thing. I thought I would totally wear this like a pullover long sleeve, as much of it as possible.
So beautiful. I love this called Chocolate and Cherries because it's delicious, but I also think it could be called The Stuff Dreams Are Made Of. That would be appropriate.
Now we need to dye a yarn. That's called.
Yes.
Adachi did some more play with pink and fuchsia and red on this.
That's good.
We have not named this yet. I think we're going to call it The Stuff of Dreams.
It's good. That's beautiful.
This is a gray base, alpaca, silk, and cashmere. And when I tell you,
it is pretty dreamy. I can picture having a dream with those colors in the background. And I like it.
Shannon, this will be named that in honor of you.
Well, you said it. I just repeated it, but it's good.
The yarn name has been born.
I love it.
Yeah, this is our Cash Luck space. It couldn't be softer. So hopefully you guys will find something in that shop update that you like. We are definitely going to donate some hand-dyed yarn as a prize for the WOW knit along. So hopefully that encourages you guys to join us.
Cool.
Let all these goodies go to waste.
Yeah.
So
Good
yeah,
stuff.
that's my main whip. I've got some other things that are abandoned. I'll take an opportunity to plug a North American maker because my other whip is in this bag.
Oh, that's a nice bag.
This is the Afro Diva bag. It's huge. See, like compared with my head for scale.
Yeah.
It's made by Kim the Crafty Nomad.
Okay.
Kim has a podcast called The Crafty Nomad, and she also has an Etsy shop called Ebony Pearl. She makes zippered bags. She makes drawstring bags, really cool notions. She's always been very supportive of my podcast and has donated prizes and things in the past. So I encourage you guys to check out Ebony Pearl. It's another great North American maker. She lives out on the west coast of the U.S. in California.
I love that
I have a sweater
mustard accent zipper.
Matches with the...
Is it your breathing space?
No, actually. That is a sweater for my mother-in-law, and share that as a whip on another episode, which will encourage me to make some progress on it.
Yes. Yeah.
You guys can hold me accountable. I will pop in the breathing space because it's almost done and it needs a sleeve.
That could also be called O Canada.
It has the brightest red and the most beautiful white speckled. I think you're right.
Yeah, it's so nice. Those are good colors.
One sleeve to go.
You've made a lot of progress on that.
I was really determined for Adachi to wear this during a couple of our summer vacations because air conditioning.
Right.
So I want her to have it. She's tried it on multiple times. The darling has let me try it on her over and over again. And one sleeve and we're done.
She must be so excited to finally get it.
She really is. She's so knit-worthy. I'm a lucky mama in that way. I think about when I was little and my mom used to sew things. I didn't always appreciate it the way I feel now. If I had this brain back then, not only would I have appreciated the hours she put into it more, but I would have sat down and paid attention to what she was doing.
Yeah.
Now I wish I could sew everything, like all my clothes down to underwear.
Yeah.
I'm not a big shopper. What about you?
Oh, I'm terrible at shopping. Terrible. And I hate it. I probably am terrible at it because I hate it or I hate it because I'm terrible at it. I'm not sure either way. Both of those things are true.
Yes. So if I could sit home and my biggest job was picking out fabric and thread colors, I feel that that would be a happy place. I don't know because I haven't really sat down and made a lot of garments. But in my fantasy life of making, I think it would be awesome.
It's on your someday list?
Yes. Now, I will tell you that plan B is that I'm just going to take a bunch of fabric and wrap it around my body in creative ways.
Which works. Why not?
And that's it. I can go out in public like that. No shame.
No shame. I think you'll look beautiful.
We want you guys to share with us what you're working on.
Yes.
It's really been interesting to see around the world the things that folks are into. And I feel that we're lucky because we're doing our month of the KAL at a time when seasons are changing. And for us in North America, we're going into summer. And I think that changes people's choices around what they knit. I tend to knit the same thing year round. I don't really make this big switch in project types. I'm still knitting a sweater. But I know that some people start thinking about different yarn fibers and different project types during the warmer, hotter months. What about you? Do you tend to kind of put away the sweaters after a period of time?
Yeah, I definitely am thinking about what I want to have on my lap while it's hot. But it hasn't been hot yet, so I'm not sort of in that headspace.
It's still cool for you.
Yeah. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, I'll probably, I like knitting small things like socks and lighter sweaters.
Socks are great year-round, I think.
They are. Socks
We'd
are
love
the
to
best.
hear from you all when you comment on this episode. what are you doing in terms of knitting? Are you changing up project types that you work on because the weather's changing, or are you just trucking on through? I know some people who knit sweaters in the summer to have available in the fall and winter. And I know some people who feel the same as you, Shannon, like, I'm just not doing a worsted weight blanket in June. It's not happening because you want to be comfortable. We want to hear what you think about that. Be a great thing to share with us.
Yes.
Is there anything else that we want to cover? I have to check our notes and make sure. I'd already thought of something.
I just remembered that, so like last spring or something, I was doing Periscopes and people were on Periscope, and then suddenly I was like, do you guys want to hang out? Like, I don't like this one-way thing. Like, I'm doing all the talking here. It's really hard for me to keep up with what you guys are saying. Let's hang out. Anyone available? So I hopped on, I can't even remember what platform we used. It started
I think it might have been Hangouts or something on Google.
It might have been Google.
Something like that.
So it started to become a thing that we were sort of looking forward to. And then I started traveling, and just my schedule I was not consistent. I think I was super depressed for a while, so I was not reliable at all. And Grace who had been in on the VKNs from the beginning, in such a big, wonderful way, completely took it over. And so she's way more organized and dependable than I am. So she now runs the VKNs. And so the platform that we use allows everyone to be on camera, allows up to 50 participants at a time, and it's limitless time. So that costs money for that. I also bought the same platform, and I think it was $200 for the year for me. So I'm guessing it was the same for her. So she has a Patreon page now where people who want to be part of the VKNs can go and donate and get email updates about when all of the VKNs happen. I feel like she's running like 2 or 3 a week now.
Yes, she's doing at least 2, sometimes 3.
Yeah.
And sometimes just impromptu. So for those of you who are new to some of this, VKN is a virtual knit night. And the night part of it is kind of loose. Grace lives in Ireland, and when we started with Shannon's VKNs, Grace was in Australia.
Yes.
So the whole time thing is kind of fluid. And the reason that Grace has multiples during the week is to give people from all over the world an opportunity to be part of this virtual knitting meetup. As Shannon said, the cost to allow as many people as we think is reasonable to talk for as long as they like is significant, but I've been on several of them. Shannon has been on. There's a huge value to it. And the fact that Grace started a Patreon, I think just underscores, it just gives me a reminder that, you know, it's okay to ask your community to help with something when you're providing them a great service. So Grace hosts the Babbles Traveling Yarns podcast, and on patreon.com, she is Vanna Willemio, and we'll make sure you have that information.
Yeah.
You can contact her through there. You can support her. Patreon allows different support levels, so it's up to you what you feel comfortable with if you want to contribute. And she provides Patreon-specific content as well, which I think is just a nice treat. So, Grace, you're not in North America, but you're honorary for us. You were the first podcaster to start the Wonders of the World KAL off in January, and we think it's awesome that you make these VKNs available.
Yes, they're so invaluable, and we're so thankful. And they just make our community that much more real and tangible. And I feel like we're sort of at the point now where we've been doing them for long enough, where we get on and it's like, oh, hi, Lori. Hi. Oh, hi. Hey.
Yes.
Oh, she's here. Oh, you're back. Oh, my gosh, I didn't see you. Like, it's just fun. It's like all these people we didn't know, like, just 6 or 7 months ago. And now we're, like, super familiar with each other and check in. And so it's really lovely that Grace has kept those up. And
I agree.
Cool to
Thank you
there.
for being the catalyst. I think it was something, for me, brand new in how we interact.
Yeah, well, it was just like super accidental. It's just like, hey, you guys want to hang out?
Yeah, some of the best things happen that way, don't they?
Yeah, definitely.
Knitting is like life.
It really is.
So that's good. I'm checking our notes just to make sure. I think we've done a good job of talking about the things that we wanted to. One of the things I'm going to include, kind of jumping back to the whole seasonal knitting, is the show notes will include a link to summer ideas. So this is going to be North America themed. For those of you who know about Ravelry, you also probably know about the bundle feature, where you can search specifically by certain criteria and then get a results list of some amazing patterns and designs. And I went and just created a bundle for designers who have patterns on Ravelry and they live in the US or Canada. And I made that kind of like one of those short links that you can get to very easily. So we'll put that in the show notes. It's just North American designers and it's all socks.
Look at you, fancy pants.
What's funny is I didn't tell you about that, and we both said probably knit socks in the summer.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that a lot of people do that. And this is an easy way to find free and some paid for patterns by North American designers. Socks are great for summer. So hopefully you guys will find something in there to enjoy.
You're the best podcasting partner ever.
Ditto.
Love it. Thank you. That's awesome. That's exciting.
Yes, hopefully people will get out there and check that out. And with that, we have covered our list for this go round. I want to give a shout out to Rachel of Treehouse Knits. Hope you're keeping track. This is second episode.
She's
just
like,
saying.
Yeah. I feel like we should have a point system or something.
Yes, and lucky us, we seem to always have something to talk about.
Yeah, yay. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today. If you're just checking us out for the first time, yay. And if you're coming back, thank you. And it's been super fun to hang out with Marce and all of you. And I guess we'll see you next time. So,
thanks, Levy.
Bye, big love and squishy eyes.
See you next time.
Okay, you are not a bear, because if you are, you should be asleep.